Yes, good morning. Uh, Hello, Arts and Humanities, HAVPA survey class, History and Appreciation of Visual and Performing Arts. I got to keep saying that again and again. Now, if you've looked on the assignment page for today, today is August 31st. It is a Monday. If you looked on the assignment page for today, you see up above this short video, and it will be short, you see the videos I provided for prehistoric art. One is of cave drawings that they discovered and were very careful with preservation from the BBC film. The second one was of something we'll call the Chiringa, or that is called the Chiringa, which we'll talk about in a second. And the third was Aboriginal music that is performed by a person in Australia. And all are examples of prehistoric art. So, and I don't want to keep you too long today, but let's get started with our short lecture. Let us now, if you're looking on your computer, or I suggest you pull up the study guide from Arts and Humanities Unit 1, Introduction and Prehistory. I suggest you pull that up on your own so you can insert your own notes into it, because once again, this is where the majority of the test questions come from. And so you'll want to, be taking notes as we go through this. Eventually we'll have a test, guys. So let us now shift our attention to the art of prehistoric man. Most people, when they think of prehistoric man, do not think of types of art. Prehistoric man, though, created the most important invention the world has ever seen and probably ever will see. And it was not fire, and it was not art, and it will be on your test. Okay, what is that invention? That invention was, wait for it, agriculture. Yeah, agriculture. And you say, well, what does agriculture have to do with art? Well, it's quite simple, really. Well, even though prehistoric man before the invention of agriculture did turn out, works of art, to be honest, prehistoric man spent most of his time doing what? Answer, chasing his next meal. Yeah, pretty much. Without getting too complicated into it, the stages of prehistoric man goes from the hunter-gatherer stage, where the prehistoric man would simply, basically, in the earliest stages, prehistoric man, if he tripped over food, he had food. And I do mean tripped over it. Hunting was included with that. But by that, I mean tripped over, he happened to, for example, come across a stream where the salmon were running upstream. He would then be fed for, until the salmon quit running. Or if he happened to come upon a large gathering of trees with berries, trees with nuts, something of that nature, then he would have food going forward. And, he was an accidental hunter-gatherer. If he happened to find it, then he had food. Eventually, though, prehistoric man, the second phase, actually becomes a purposeful hunter-gatherer. In other words, he knew when the elk made their migration. And maybe he and his family and groups of families would follow the elk or the buffalo on their migration. He had learned that during a certain time of year, the salmon ran upstream, or the berries became ripe and good to eat. And so, yeah, he was a purposeful hunter-gatherer. And in doing so, he actually could build semi-permanent habitations. And you see, that's the thing. In the first stage of hunter-gatherers, very few children Very few infants survived because you were always on the move, you were always in the elements. And the same for the elderly, people like this guy, couldn't keep up. You can't keep up, you get abandoned because you have to keep up. And once you're abandoned, you become the menu on the dinner for the wolf pack. And then, second stage, more children survived, more elderly lived longer. But then man invented agriculture. Probably quite by accident, and probably it was females who invented agriculture. They were the ones, they noticed that in the very place where they would have a part of their village where, after they'd eaten, they threw the seeds, they threw, things, the discard from the fruits and vegetables they may have eaten. They noticed in that very place there would be vines of berries or grapes that sprout up, and somebody began to make the conclusion: seeds, food, and they began trying to raise the very things they wanted to eat. Agriculture. And they domesticated animals that, who wandered around, beginning with the dog, and et cetera, et cetera. And so what does this have to do with art, Mr. Horton? Well, basically, when that food supply question was answered, when you no longer had to hunt every day, you were no longer only one meal away from starvation, a new thing comes up: leisure time. Time when you can sit down and, the thing about mankind is that when he has time to sit down and contemplate, he creates. Tools, yeah, but also things for aesthetic purposes, and even toys for children. The old men live longer, the infants, more of them survive. And so, yeah, that's why it was important to the arts. Agriculture created leisure time. Okay, so for the record, we will soon be asking the question, what is the second most important invention of man? So you might want to begin thinking about that. Spoiler alert: written language. We'll talk about why later, but yeah, written language, the alphabet, be able to write, communicate, writing. Okay, so let's talk about what types of art did prehistoric man develop. Beginning with the cave drawings of the Neanderthals. Now, hopefully you've already looked at several of those videos. So here's the question: how did they make them? How did they make cave drawings? Because there was no paint, there was no art supply store. Cave drawings, the miracle of cave drawings is that there are still any left. And most of the cave drawings that we have that are still left have been located deep within the recesses of caves. And if you notice in that BBC video, they told you that when a bunch of cave explorers found those cave drawings, first thing they did was wall it off and prevent people from coming in and looking at it, because the inrush of moisture from people's breaths and heat and things like that would deteriorate the art. So they sealed it, and then they recreated it. Okay. So, but once again, what did they use for materials? Well, they used what they had inside the cave, which a lot of times be sandstone. And the sandstone would often have various colors. They would take and they would grind off that sandstone and make it into a powder. So that's the color, the powder. But now, how do you get the powder to stick to the walls? Well, animal fat. Yeah, they would use animal fat, and they did it in a couple of ways. One, they would kind of draw an outline of the animal or whatever they were drawing on the wall, and then within the outline, they would smear the animal fat. Okay. And then after they'd covered the entire outline, they would take the colored dust from the brightly colored rocks, and they might use a tube and blow it there or just out of their hands, and then the dust would adhere to the wall, and there you are. You know, or they would other times they would actually take the animal fat and lots of the sand and make it into a very crude crayon. You see. Now, that wasn't the only kind of art. As we saw, hopefully you looked at the video of a chiringa, which will be on your test. Yeah, a chiringa. A chiringa, as you see there, is a stone blade that has one end hollowed out, and then you put some kind of string or leather thong through it, and then you can sling it around your head. Now, you say, I mean, if you ever watch Crocodile Dundee, he uses those things. It does project sound for a long way. But now imagine that instead of out in the open with that chiringa, you're inside a cave. And you know what sound does in a cave? It bounces all over the place. And they would use these particularly when they had ceremonies, the burial of dead, also circumcision ceremonies. Yeah, Prehistoric Man would, when a young boy or young girl would pass into adulthood, they would go through some kind of test, and sometimes it was circumcision. Do I have to explain circumcision? Circumcision is painful. Or they would carve artistic drawings on their body, scarring the body. And that was a adulthood ritual. And yes, they carved figures in whatever stone was available. I'm sorry, I forgot to bring one up here. I'll post it. I actually posted it on the first day of this class. So while you guys contemplate what is beauty, I'm going to go find the picture for you. So hang with me. Give me a sec. Okay, assignments on, come on. The first day, 8:25, yes, I gave you a picture of a fertility symbol. Where did I put that thing? It was in the Chicago Art Museum. Bingo. And yeah, there it is. As you look at that. Now that one's made of gold. It is a fertility goddess made of gold. Of course, pardon me again. Sorry to do this to you. And there it is. This is the one that is in your book. And this is a pretty common fertility goddess. What did you do? Yeah, pretty common fertility goddess that you found in a lot of cave excavations. They look the same. You say, well, if you look at that person as a female, you might or might not find that attractive, which leads me into my next question. What is beauty? And we're going to explore this later on, what is beauty? Beauty it really is in the eye of the beholder. But it's more than just that. It is more than just that. From the day that you and I were born, we have been told what is and what is not beautiful. I watch too much TV. And there is a very old black and white episode of The Twilight Zone. And in the Twilight Zone, this is supposed to be a woman who is involved in an automobile accident, and the whole 20-minute episodes takes place in a hospital. And these doctors and nurses, of course, they're wearing these things. They're wearing masks, and they're all discussing uh, this terrible accident, what it did to this woman, how it disfigured this woman, and she'll never look the same, and she's horribly disfigured. But they don't show her. And at the very end of the episode, the climax of the episode is that they finally show the woman who has been in the accident, and she's beautiful. She fits the Western idea of beauty, which we'll talk about later. But then, eventually, for some reason, the nurses and the doctors take their mask off. Well, they have the snout of a hog and sharp fang teeth, and and all of them look like that. And so, once again, what is beauty? You are told from day one what is considered beautiful, and different things have been considered and are considered beautiful in different societies. Scarring. I mean, when I was a kid, only sailors had tattoos. Uh, and today, I won't say everybody has tattoos, but it's very common for people to have tattoos, lots, and not tattoos, lots of tattoos. Um, for example, in certain tribes, certain places around the world, um, females who have extremely large derrieres are considered to be attractive. You know, and actually, our own version of what a beautiful woman is, um, the Barbie figure, is actually very unrealistic, um, and actually very unhealthy, to be honest. But anyway, so what we're going to do tomorrow, in your assignment tomorrow, I'm going to shut down in just a second. What we're going to do tomorrow is that tomorrow we are going to go on another field trip. But this field trip, we're going to look at, basically, I'm going to show you a television program from the Travel Channel. And there will be your first written assignment on this video. And the video has is a video from the Travel Channel of the 8 top ancient cultures, ancient civilizations in the modern world. And what we're going to do, and yeah, it's for the Travel Channel, but when they show these places, you will see all the different ways that people manifest art and also beauty and customs and things of that nature. And we will do what I like to call scripting, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But for scripting. And you say, what's scripting, Mr. Horton? Basically, you will submit to me a series of bullet notes that basically tells me that you paid attention to the film. Okay? And that will be tomorrow. And I have talked to you too much today. So, yes. Goodbye for now. Now I have to figure out how to turn this thing off. I never can. Hold on. I can never do this.